Your government is attacking you with hurricanes, tornadoes, and floods disguised as natural disasters. For decades, HAARP weather manipulation technology has been systematically targeting conservative states to drive out conservative voters and destroy Republican strongholds. I'm Director James Morrison, and the classified documents I'm about to show you prove America is under attack by weather warfare from within. What I'm about to reveal will change forever how you view severe weather events, natural disasters, and the increasing frequency of catastrophic storms that seem to target specific regions of America with suspicious consistency. For over 20 years, I've investigated reports of weather manipulation technology and its potential use as a weapon of political control. Tonight, I'm presenting classified intelligence that proves weather warfare is real, operational, and being deployed against American citizens by their own government. The evidence comes from classified military research documents, HAARP operational files, and testimony from atmospheric scientists who refuse to participate in weather warfare operations against American civilians. This isn't about climate change or natural weather patterns. This is about systematic deployment of weather weapons designed to destroy conservative communities, suppress Republican voting, and advance political objectives through manufactured natural disasters. HAARP, High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, installations worldwide have been weaponized to manipulate atmospheric conditions and create severe weather events that can be targeted at specific geographic regions. Dr. Sarah Mitchell worked as an atmospheric physicist for the HAARP research program in Alaska. Her job was to study ionospheric heating effects and atmospheric manipulation capabilities for research purposes. What Mitchell discovered was that HAARP research had been weaponized to develop operational weather modification capabilities that could create hurricanes, tornadoes, droughts, and floods on command. Mitchell documented how HAARP's ionospheric heating technology can manipulate jet streams, atmospheric pressure systems, and moisture patterns to create severe weather events in targeted geographic areas. The HAARP system operates by heating sections of the ionosphere with focused radio frequency energy, creating atmospheric disturbances that cascade through weather systems to produce desired meteorological effects. Mitchell preserved research data showing that HAARP installations can coordinate to create hurricane formation conditions, steer storm systems toward specific targets, and intensify storm severity beyond natural levels. The technology has evolved from experimental research to operational weather warfare capabilities that can reliably create devastating storms with precision targeting and timing control. When Mitchell attempted to expose HAARP weather weapons capabilities, she was told that discussing atmospheric research could compromise national security and result in prosecution for unauthorized disclosure of classified technology. HAARP weather operations are coordinated with political intelligence to ensure that severe weather events target conservative communities while avoiding liberal strongholds and Democratic voting areas. Agent Michael Foster worked for the Department of Homeland Security's Emergency Management Division, coordinating federal disaster response and recovery operations. What Foster discovered was that severe weather events disproportionately affected conservative counties, Republican voting districts, and areas with high concentrations of Trump supporters. Foster documented statistical analysis showing that severe weather disasters occurred at rates significantly higher than random chance would predict in conservative areas compared to liberal regions. The political targeting system coordinates weather weapons deployment with electoral calendars to maximize political impact during crucial voting periods and candidate campaigns. Foster preserved evidence showing that major weather disasters often occurred immediately before elections in swing states, creating chaos that suppressed conservative voter turnout while motivating liberal voters concerned about climate change. The timing patterns were so consistent that Foster's analysis showed weather warfare deployment correlated with political necessity rather than natural meteorological conditions. When Foster attempted to report political patterns in disaster occurrence, he was told that analyzing disaster demographics could interfere with emergency response operations and compromise federal assistance programs. HAARP installations coordinate to create hurricane formation conditions in the Atlantic Ocean, then steer these manufactured storms toward conservative states along the Gulf Coast and eastern seaboard. Colonel Robert Hayes worked as a meteorological warfare specialist for classified military weather operations. His job was to develop atmospheric manipulation techniques for potential military applications. What Hayes discovered was that HAARP technology could reliably create the atmospheric conditions necessary for hurricane formation by manipulating ocean surface temperatures and atmospheric pressure systems. Hayes documented how coordinated HAARP operations create thermal columns, pressure differentials, and rotational forces that trigger tropical storm formation and intensification processes. Once hurricanes are generated, HAARP installations along the storm's path coordinate to manipulate high-pressure systems and jet stream patterns that determine hurricane trajectory and intensity. Hayes preserved operational protocols showing how hurricane steering operations target specific states and regions based on political intelligence about voting patterns and electoral objectives. The steering technology allows precise control over hurricane landfall locations, ensuring that manufactured storms hit conservative areas while missing liberal population centers. When Hayes attempted to expose hurricane generation and steering operations, he was told that discussing weather warfare capabilities could compromise military applications and national security. HAARP operations have artificially extended and intensified Tornado Alley to create devastating tornado outbreaks in conservative states while reducing tornado activity in liberal regions. Dr. Jennifer Walsh worked as a severe weather researcher, studying tornado formation patterns and geographic distribution changes over the past 2 decades. What Walsh discovered was that traditional Tornado Alley had been artificially extended southward and eastward to encompass conservative states that historically experienced fewer tornado events. Walsh documented how HAARP ionospheric heating creates the atmospheric instability necessary for supercell thunderstorm formation and tornado generation in targeted regions. The tornado manipulation program specifically targets rural conservative communities, small towns with Republican voting majorities, and agricultural regions that form the backbone of conservative political support. Walsh preserved meteorological data showing that tornado frequency and intensity had increased dramatically in conservative areas, while decreasing in traditionally tornado-prone regions with liberal populations. The artificial manipulation of tornado patterns demonstrated systematic weather warfare designed to destroy conservative communities and drive population migration toward liberal urban areas. When Walsh attempted to publish research on artificial tornado pattern manipulation, she was told that her findings could cause public panic and interfere with federal disaster response operations. HAARP weather weapons create coordinated drought and flood cycles designed to destroy conservative agricultural regions while providing beneficial weather conditions for liberal states. Agent Lisa Park worked for the Department of Agriculture's Crop Monitoring Division, tracking weather impacts on agricultural production and food security. What Park discovered was that drought and flood patterns had been systematically manipulated to destroy crop production in conservative agricultural states while providing optimal growing conditions in liberal regions. Park documented how HAARP operations could redirect moisture patterns, block rain systems, and create artificial high-pressure zones that produce devastating droughts in targeted agricultural areas. The drought and flood coordination specifically targets conservative farming communities, ranching operations, and rural economies that provide financial support for Republican candidates and conservative causes. Park preserved agricultural data showing that weather-related crop losses disproportionately affected conservative states, while liberal agricultural regions experienced unusually favorable weather conditions. The systematic destruction of conservative agricultural production demonstrated weather warfare designed to eliminate the economic foundation of rural conservative communities. When Park attempted to report artificial weather patterns affecting agriculture, she was told that discussing weather modification could interfere with international trade negotiations and agricultural markets. HAARP technology creates atmospheric conditions that fuel devastating wildfires in conservative western states while protecting liberal regions from fire damage. Dr. Patricia Williams worked as a wildfire behavior specialist studying atmospheric conditions that contribute to fire spread and intensity. What Williams discovered was that atmospheric conditions conducive to extreme wildfire behavior were being artificially created and sustained in conservative regions of western states. Williams documented how HAARP ionospheric heating creates low humidity, high wind conditions that transform manageable fires into devastating infernos that destroy conservative communities. The wildfire amplification system protects liberal enclaves within conservative states by creating atmospheric barriers and moisture patterns that prevent fire spread into politically important areas. Williams preserved fire weather data showing that devastating wildfires consistently avoided liberal population centers while destroying conservative rural communities and small towns. The selective nature of wildfire destruction demonstrated systematic targeting based on political demographics rather than natural fire behavior patterns. When Williams attempted to expose artificial fire weather creation, she was told that discussing wildfire research could interfere with fire suppression operations and endanger firefighter safety. HAARP coordinates with submarine-based systems to create artificial storm surges that devastate conservative coastal communities while protecting liberal waterfront areas. Commander David Chen worked in Navy meteorological warfare development, studying oceanic and atmospheric interactions that affect coastal weather systems. What Chen discovered was that HAARP atmospheric manipulation coordinated with underwater acoustic systems to create artificial storm surge conditions that could be precisely targeted at specific coastal areas. Chen documented how coordinated atmospheric and oceanic manipulation creates storm surge effects that exceed natural hurricane surge levels, causing devastating flooding in targeted coastal regions. The coastal targeting system protects liberal waterfront communities, wealthy progressive enclaves, and democratic strongholds while devastating conservative coastal areas and working-class fishing communities. Chen preserved operational data showing that storm surge damage patterns consistently favored liberal coastal areas while destroying conservative communities along the same coastlines. The selective protection demonstrated sophisticated targeting capabilities that could distinguish between political demographics within the same geographic storm impact zones. When Chen attempted to expose artificial storm surge generation, he was told that discussing oceanic warfare capabilities could compromise naval operations and national security. HAARP creates extreme winter weather conditions designed to cripple conservative states while providing mild winter conditions for liberal regions, creating economic hardship and infrastructure failure. Dr. Amanda Foster worked as a climate researcher studying polar atmospheric patterns and their effects on continental weather systems. What Foster discovered was that polar vortex disruptions were being artificially created to push Arctic air masses into conservative states while protecting liberal regions from extreme cold. Foster documented how HAARP ionospheric heating disrupts polar atmospheric circulation, creating artificial polar vortex events that bring devastating cold to targeted regions. The winter storm amplification specifically targets conservative states with inadequate infrastructure for extreme cold, creating power grid failures, transportation disruption, and economic damage. Foster preserved meteorological data showing that extreme winter weather events consistently affected conservative states, while liberal regions experienced unusually mild winter conditions. The systematic targeting of conservative infrastructure through winter warfare demonstrated weather weapons deployment designed to create political and economic chaos. When Foster attempted to publish research on artificial polar vortex manipulation, she was told that climate research was classified and discussing it could compromise national security operations. HAARP installations worldwide coordinate weather warfare operations to ensure global atmospheric manipulation capabilities while maintaining plausible deniability about artificial weather creation. Agent Marcus Rodriguez worked in international atmospheric research coordination, managing cooperation between HAARP installations in different countries. What Rodriguez discovered was that HAARP installations in Alaska, Norway, Russia, China, and other locations coordinate operations to create global weather effects while hiding evidence of artificial weather manipulation. Rodriguez documented communication protocols between international HAARP installations, showing coordination of atmospheric heating operations designed to create weather effects that appear natural but are artificially generated. The global coordination ensures that weather weapons operations can be attributed to natural climate variability while hiding evidence of systematic atmospheric manipulation. Rodriguez preserved communications showing that international HAARP coordination includes creating conflicting weather patterns that make artificial manipulation difficult to detect or prove. The global network provides redundant weather warfare capabilities while distributing operational responsibility among multiple nations to prevent accountability for weather weapons attacks. When Rodriguez attempted to expose international weather warfare coordination, he was told that discussing international atmospheric research could compromise diplomatic relationships and treaty obligations. Weather warfare operations are hidden behind climate change narratives that provide scientific cover for artificial weather manipulation while preventing investigation of weather weapons programs. Dr. Jennifer Hayes worked as a climate scientist studying long-term weather pattern changes and their potential anthropogenic causes. What Hayes discovered was that climate change research was being systematically manipulated to hide evidence of artificial weather manipulation while providing cover stories for weather weapons operations. Hayes documented how climate scientists were pressured to attribute artificial weather events to natural climate change while ignoring evidence of atmospheric manipulation and ionospheric heating effects. The climate change cover story includes suppression of research that might expose weather weapons operations while promoting studies that support natural climate change explanations for artificial weather events. Hayes preserved academic communications showing systematic suppression of atmospheric research that could expose HAARP weather manipulation capabilities. The scientific suppression ensures that weather weapons operations remain hidden while climate change serves as an all-purpose explanation for increasingly severe artificial weather events. When Hayes attempted to publish research exposing artificial weather creation, she was told that climate research funding would be terminated and her academic career would be destroyed. Weather warfare operations coordinate with economic interests that profit from disaster recovery, insurance claims, and federal emergency spending while advancing political objectives through manufactured disasters. Agent Robert Foster worked in emergency management economics, analyzing the financial impacts of natural disasters and federal recovery spending. What Foster discovered was that weather warfare operations were coordinated with economic interests that profited from disaster destruction and recovery operations. Foster documented how weather weapons targeting created economic opportunities for disaster capitalism while destroying conservative economic bases and driving population migration. The disaster capitalism system ensures that weather warfare operations generate profits for politically connected contractors while destroying conservative economies and transferring wealth to liberal regions. Foster preserved financial data showing that weather weapons operations created predictable economic patterns that benefited specific financial interests while harming conservative communities. The coordination between weather warfare and disaster capitalism demonstrated systematic economic warfare designed to transfer wealth from conservative to liberal regions. When Foster attempted to expose economic coordination with weather warfare, he was told that discussing disaster economics could interfere with emergency response operations and federal assistance programs. Weather warfare operations are designed to drive conservative populations out of targeted regions through repeated disasters while encouraging liberal migration to previously conservative areas. Dr. Lisa Chen worked in population demographics research, studying migration patterns and their relationship to natural disasters and climate events. What Chen discovered was that weather warfare operations were systematically designed to drive conservative populations out of targeted states while encouraging liberal population replacement. Chen documented how repeated weather disasters in conservative areas created permanent population displacement while liberal regions received favorable weather conditions that attracted new residents. The population displacement strategy aims to change electoral demographics in swing states by driving out conservative voters while attracting liberal migrants from disaster-affected areas. Chen preserved demographic data showing that weather warfare operations created predictable migration patterns that favored Democratic electoral objectives in targeted states. The systematic population displacement demonstrated weather warfare as a tool of electoral manipulation designed to change American political demographics through forced migration. When Chen attempted to publish research on weather-related demographic manipulation, she was told that population research was classified and could not be discussed publicly. American weather warfare operations affect global weather patterns and create international tensions while demonstrating weather weapons capabilities that threaten global stability. Weather manipulation in America affects global atmospheric circulation patterns, creating weather disruptions in other countries that can be used for international political leverage. American weather warfare capabilities demonstrate advanced technological advantages that provide strategic advantages in international negotiations and conflicts. The demonstration of weather warfare capabilities encourages other nations to develop similar weapons, creating global weather weapons proliferation that threatens international stability. International weather warfare development could lead to weather weapons conflicts that affect global climate stability and agricultural production. Weather warfare operations against conservative states continue to expand and intensify as political tensions increase and electoral competition becomes more desperate. Current intelligence indicates that weather warfare operations have escalated in frequency and intensity as political objectives become more urgent and technological capabilities improve. The targeting of conservative states has become more precise and devastating as HAARP technology advances and operational experience increases. Intelligence sources indicate that weather warfare planners are developing enhanced targeting capabilities and expanded operational objectives for future elections and political campaigns. The evolution of weather weapons technology threatens even more devastating attacks against conservative communities and Republican strongholds. Despite systematic weather warfare attacks, patriotic Americans are developing countermeasures and resistance strategies to protect conservative communities from government weather weapons. Independent researchers and patriotic scientists are developing detection methods for artificial weather manipulation while documenting evidence of HAARP operations. Community-based weather monitoring networks are providing early warning systems for weather weapons attacks while preserving evidence of artificial weather creation. Some conservative communities are investigating protective technologies and atmospheric countermeasures that could reduce the effectiveness of weather weapons attacks. The development of weather warfare defenses requires independent research and community-based initiatives outside government-controlled institutions. Weather warfare against American citizens represents unprecedented government tyranny and systematic violation of constitutional rights, including life, liberty, and property. Using weather weapons against American citizens constitutes domestic terrorism by government agencies that are supposed to protect rather than attack American communities. Weather warfare violates fundamental constitutional principles by using government power to destroy American lives and property for political objectives. Weather warfare undermines democratic processes by using government technology to manipulate electoral outcomes through forced migration and community destruction. Constitutional government cannot survive when the federal government uses weather weapons against states and communities that oppose government policies. America faces a choice between accepting systematic weather warfare against conservative communities or demanding accountability for government weather weapons programs. The evidence I've presented tonight proves that your government is using weather weapons to attack conservative states while hiding behind climate change narratives. Traditional oversight and accountability mechanisms have been captured by weather warfare operators and cannot provide protection against government atmospheric attacks. Protection from weather warfare requires citizen awareness, community preparation, and organized resistance to government weather weapons programs. Every American must choose between accepting systematic weather attacks or demanding accountability for government officials who use weather as a weapon against their own people. Your government is attacking you with hurricanes, tornadoes, droughts, floods, and winter storms designed to destroy conservative communities and suppress Republican voting. HAARP weather weapons have been deployed against American citizens for decades, while climate change serves as cover for systematic atmospheric warfare. I've presented classified evidence proving that weather warfare is real, operational, and targeting you based on your political beliefs and voting patterns. Weather warfare operations will continue and intensify until Americans demand accountability for government officials who use atmospheric weapons against their own citizens. Every severe weather event that hits conservative areas while missing liberal regions is evidence of systematic targeting by weather weapons programs. Constitutional government and individual liberty cannot survive while the federal government uses weather warfare to attack American communities and manipulate electoral outcomes. This is Director James Morrison. Your government is attacking you with weather weapons disguised as natural disasters. The question is, what are you going to do to protect yourself and your community from atmospheric warfare?